2020. We did not have an invocation on the agenda this morning, but I did prepare an invocation, so I will go ahead with that. If you'll please join me. Most merciful and triune God, we come to you in our weakness. We come to you in our fear. We come to you with trust, and for you alone are our hope. We place before you the disease present in our world. We turn to you in our time of need. Bring wisdom to doctors, give understanding to scientists, endow caregivers with compassion and generosity. Bring healing to those who are ill. Protect those who are most at risk. Give comfort to those who have lost a loved one. Welcome those who have died into your eternal home. Stabilize our communities, unite us in our compassion, and remove all fear from our hearts. Fill us with the confidence in your care. Amen.
Amen.
If you are able, if you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmembers Huff.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Doherty.
Here.
DeLucy.
Here.
Robertson.
Here.
Van Camp.
Here.
Mayor Ware.
Here. Madam City Clerk, we do have several public hearings this evening, and I know that there were some people who signed up to speak on the public hearing, especially regarding the budget. So we will get to that later on in the agenda. Madam City Clerk, did you have any citizens who just requested to speak to the council in general this evening?
Yes, we did have one citizen's request to speak. It's Lisa, I apologize, Agavne, and she's requested to speak regarding bus routes.
Okay. Lisa, if you are on the call, if you would please unmute your microphone.
Right here. Right here. Is it my turn?
You are on. If you just state your name for the record, then you can go.
Okay, my name is Lisa Ovi, and I was wanting to speak about the canceling of the routes and how that's going to affect not only the disabled people, but the paratransit. I understand that it's been said that we are exempted right now and that won't affect us, but it will affect us when our 3 years is up and we have to reapply. When we reapply, we will not have a bus service around us. In order to qualify, you have to be within 3/4 of a mile to qualify for paratransit. So I'm just curious that if this, whatever it is, passes and cancels the most of the bus routes, how that's going to work and affect paratransit, because I know the main rule is that you have to be within 3/4 of a bus mile or 3/4 of a bus stop in order to qualify for paratransit. So that is my answer. That's the only way I have to get around for work, for anything. It's already hard enough that we have to be done by 7 o'clock. I'm grateful for that, and I'm not, that's not my issue, but if you take it away, then we won't have anything. So that is my issue.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming and sharing that with us this evening. Are there any other citizens who wish to address the council this evening?
There were none that signed up in advance, Mayor.
Okay, are there any on the call who wish to speak on something other than one of the public hearings? Okay, very good. Then we will move on to our proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week. Madam City Clerk.
Whereas emergency medical services, EMS, is a vital public service, and whereas the members of EMS teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas emergency medical services embody the true concept of teamwork by recognizing the interdependent relationship among the trauma centers, EMS system hospitals, emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others who are dedicated to saving lives. And whereas the City of Independence Fire Department has been providing emergency medical services since 1993, with 68 paramedics and 103 EMTs currently on staff. And American Medical Response, AMR, has been providing emergency medical services since 1994. Whereas this year's national theme, Ready Today, Preparing for Tomorrow, reflects the selfless calling that makes EMS so vital and recognizes that EMS professionals are on the front lines of this crisis every day, planning, adapting, and responding to take care of the needs of their citizens, all while still responding to the everyday emergencies that continue to occur in their communities. Now, therefore, Eileen N. Weir, Mayor of the City of Independence, Missouri, hereby proclaims the week of May 17th to 23rd, 2020 as Emergency Medical Services Week, and call this observance to the attention of the community and encourage them to join in this special observance.
Okay, thank you very much for that proclamation. Mayor Pro Tem, this brings us to the consent agenda.
Hi, Mayor, Madam Mayor, I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items any council member wishes pulled for separate consideration? Hearing none, Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes, consent agenda passes. This takes us to our public hearings. We have 5 public hearings this evening. The first is a public hearing for the amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 14 of the Independence City Code relating to off-premise advertising. This is a full public hearing. Mr. Scannell?
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, this UDO amendment clarifies some regulations in regards to the off-premise advertising. A couple things that it does is that it clarifies where the off-premise advertising is allowed, meaning that it is not allowed within the public right-of-way. It gets our UDO in line with some of our surrounding communities as far as the regulations go. This application was considered by the Planning Commission on April 14th. The Planning Commission recommended approval of this, and if you don't have any other questions, that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a full public hearing. Is there anybody who wishes to speak on behalf of this amendment? Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Are there comments or questions from the council on the public hearing? Okay, I will declare this public hearing closed. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-031, an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 14 of the Independent City Code pertaining to off-premise advertising, second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill?
Madam Mayor, I do have a question.
Yes, Councilmember?
I believe it's this bill that would not allow off-premises advertising on Jackson Drive, Valley View Parkway, and one other road. And I just didn't know the reasoning for excluding those 3 parkways. That's my question.
Okay. Mr.
And
City
answer-
Manager? Or
Yeah,
Mr. Scannell?
I'll defer to Mr. Scannell to explain that for you.
Okay,
Sure.
there he is.
Got my camera working. So those were already in the UDO ordinance. So if you think back to when the UDO was adopted over a decade ago, the city wanted to leave those corridors free from billboards. And so that is my understanding as far as why that was added to the UDO. But that is not being changed with this ordinance amendment.
Okay, I just want to be sure that there's enough of a buffer, for example, on Lee Summit Road, Truman Road, because a lot of those roads are residential. And that's my only concern. I mean, Valley View Parkway right now is not residential yet. And so to me, it's like, okay, put up the billboard now when nobody's there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Are there any other comments or questions on this ordinance? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp, Mayor Ware.
Yes, ordinance passes. Our next public hearing is for the application by Cindy Strom requesting a special use permit to operate a bed and breakfast at 2820 South Crenshaw Road. This is new information only. Mr. Scannell.
Yes, this special use permit was considered by the Planning Commission on April 14th. They recommended approval of this application, and there is no new information to report.
Okay, are there any comments or questions from the council on the public hearing? I will call the public hearing closed. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-032, an ordinance approving a special use permit to operate a bed and breakfast at 2820 South Crenshaw Road in Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, ordinance passes. Our next public hearing is for the application by Labruzzo Real Estate Holdings requesting a special use permit to operate a used vehicle sales business at 1115 South Chrysler Avenue. This is new information only. Mr. Scannell.
Yes, the Planning Commission at its April 14th meeting heard this special use permit request. They supported it, and there is no new information to report on this case.
Okay, are there any comments or questions from the council on the public hearing?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
I think Councilperson DeLucci asked us, a month or two ago or so, about some kind of limitation on these used car lots. Mr. City Manager, have we figured that out, if it's a legal thing, like the tobacco shops and the tattoos and all that stuff, if we can have a moratorium on this?
Yeah, Mr. Scannell, you want to go ahead and talk about our caps on our different businesses, please?
Yeah, so as Councilmember Huff had mentioned, we have caps on a limited number of businesses, from payday loans, tattoo parlors, those types of uses. There are no caps on used car lots. I was trying to think back to some information that we had circulated back to the city council on the number of establishments that we had in the city. It also outlined how many we had approved recently. And I think in the last 10 years or so, we have approved somewhere around 12, I believe. As far as answering the question regarding establishing a cap, some research that we had done, we did not find any other municipality in the state of Missouri that had a cap on used car sales. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.
Councilmember Huff, this is Zach again. I did find that email. Since July 1st of 2009, there have been 18 applications for special use permits for used car lots. So 18 in about 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say it's been quite a few there lately. I know I listen to the planning commission, and they often bring that question up about the car lots. I'm just wondering if we're just going to continue to roll with them. That's fine with me. Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and call the public hearing to a close, and then we can read the ordinance and have further discussion unless there's other questions regarding the public hearing. I do have a comment, but I'll wait till we have discussion on the ordinance. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-033, an ordinance approving a special use permit to operate a vehicle sales business at 1115 South Chrysler Avenue in Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Okay, is there any discussion on this bill? In relation to the question regarding the discussion on limiting the number of used motor vehicle businesses in Independence, there has been discussion, over the years and certainly recently about putting a moratorium on granting requests for new businesses. So that's certainly up to the council. That's more of a policy decision. These do, in many cases like this evening, require a special use permit, and it's certainly within our rights, individual or prerogative individually to approve them or not approve them. I've discussed this with several individual council members, and I guess my feeling is I would be reluctant to put a limit or moratorium, because sometimes sometimes they suit the situation and sometimes they don't. And that's, the decision that comes before this council is if we feel that this is a good use for the property, if it's a beneficial use for the area. This is support from the Planning Commission, but I am going to vote no on this special use permit this evening. This is located directly across 23rd Street from Chrysler Stadium. There's a CVS on one corner. There's a filling station on one corner, and this is, I believe, used to be an auto repair business at the corner of 23rd and Chrysler, across the street from Chrysler Stadium. We're trying to really invest in some improvements in our downtown area and expanding the idea of our downtown area all the way to 23rd Street. And I'm sure this application certainly met with all the requirements. I am going to vote no on this application because in my mind, it just is not the best use for that property as we continue to try to invest in and redevelop our downtown area. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilman Doherty.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just clarifying, is that in Councilman Perkins' district?
That's right on the corner of Sterling and 23rd Street there.
I wasn't sure if it was yours or Councilman Van Camp's. Do you support that, Councilman Perkins, for that use?
I support the use there. That property has been a unique space right there. The only caveat to that is I would be careful with the flooding down there. It floods often right there in that corner. So unless the city was wanting to do some acquiring that whole section there for some possible use for water detention or water maintenance program there, to acquire that whole lot, I don't see what other better use will go there in that corner than a used car lot. And I've been on the side of giving those special use permits, voting in favor of those for some and not for others. It definitely depends on the location and where in the city and where in the district that makes sense. But for this particular case, I am in favor for that.
Well, I'm going to also support it because your recommendation, but I remember when that was an auto repair place, I think they're allowed, or he had a lot of old junk cars that were in disrepair there. It was really pretty bad looking, and several of them were, quote, for sale. So he's somewhat, one of the prior owners there ran a car lot more or less de facto there anyway. So I think the businesses that we did cap, it was because there was a long list of legal and problems that didn't do the community good. The thing about a car lot, they'll either sell cars or they'll be gone. They don't tend to have the problems and the legal problems and the code problems that the other places have. I think maybe until there's a long line of people with applications, that use might not be so bad on that corner because it had a car repair shop there before, and pretty unkept. So if this was new and cleaned up, it would be at least a first step in cleaning it up. So I appreciate your recommendation. I'll support it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would also look long terms, and I'm not a business forecast person, but if for whatever reason this business is not successful, then I would suggest that the city maybe take a look at a long-term plan on acquiring those lots there, that parcels down there where the creek runs through. And when we have bigger rain events, that whole intersection begins to flood, to see what a long-term range for a solution to help that out. Maybe perhaps we can put that into some kind of networking or network into the matrix there, Mr. City Manager, for maybe a 5 or 7 year plan, if that makes sense to our staff.
Yeah, and I would probably want to check, Councilmember, just see what previous studies we've got on the books to see what solutions have previously been identified. Because like you said, I know it's been a long-standing issue, but we can certainly take another look at that and see future forward facing what makes sense there.
So this was the location of one of the most giant potholes we'd ever seen after last winter, when there was so much, not this past one, but the one before, where there was a lot of freezing and thawing and damage. And we had the dickens of a time trying to get the state to cooperate with us on 23rd Street to get some of that intersection repair done. But to your point, Councilman Perkins, it is an area where water pools and freezes and thaws and does a lot of damage to our infrastructure and the state infrastructure. So, I would just keep in mind moving forward any kind of, certainly if this passes tonight, we certainly hope this business is successful. We're not trying to, send doom down upon them. But the fact remains, this is an intersection that sees a lot of weather events have an impact on it, and something that we should address. But keep in mind that we are at least partially reliant on the cooperation of MoDOT to help us to solve that problem, since it is at the corner of Chrysler and 23rd Street. Councilman Robertson, did you have a comment? Councilman Robertson.
Is that property in a floodplain now? Do we know, Mr. Scannell?
I was just looking at the map, and it's not in a floodplain, but it's in the stream buffer setback. Some of that property in the back is within that stream buffer. The rest of the property is outside of both the floodplain and the stream buffer.
Are there limits with this ordinance to how many cars can be housed there? Is there a limit as to how many cars he's allowed to put there?
Well, they are limited by how much paved parking they have. They have to provide enough parking for their employees as well as customers. And then the other paved area can be used for the parking for vehicles.
I know there was an old business there, as Councilman Doherty said, that repaired cars and sold them. So it basically was a used car lot at one time, and it's sat empty now for a long time. It's better to have something there than nothing. And unfortunately, it's not, I don't think, the best use, especially on a busy road like 23rd Street and across from Chrysler Stadium, and when there's a lot of kids there, when they're selling Christmas trees. I mean, there's a lot of other uses that could go in there, like a coffee, ice cream shop, something where people could stop along 23rd Street and get something quickly, because it's a small piece of property. But this has been okayed by the Planning Commission. I'd rather have something there than nothing. And I don't think anybody else is urgently looking at that property. So I probably will support it this evening. But down the road, I would not be in favor of the city owning it. But I would be in favor of making it attractive for some small little business, like a Scooter's Coffee or some little drive-through ice cream place or something like that. So, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions on this ordinance? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
No. Ordinance passes. Our next public hearing is a public hearing for the application by QP Financial LLC to erect a digital off-premise advertising structure at 19100 East Valley View Parkway. This is new information only. Mr. Scannell.
Yes, this special use permit is for a digital off-premise advertising sign located at the Cable Dahmer Event Center. This application was heard by the Planning Commission on April 14th. The Planning Commission voted in favor of this application, and there's no new information to report on this case.
Okay, this is new information only. Are there any comments or questions from the council on our public hearing? Okay, then the public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-034, an ordinance approving a special use permit to erect a digital off-premise advertising structure at 19100 East Valley View Parkway in Independence, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Yes, Councilman Robertson.
Just a question. I assume this is just a little bit east of the event center, but far enough back so there's a huge setback from I-70. I don't think it will interfere with any of the signage on the event center or our sign that's already there. Maybe you can confirm that. One last comment. I'm glad to see a new stream of income for the city. So that's a benefit for the city, and I think probably I will be in favor of it. If you just want to comment on the setback and position of that sign, that would be helpful.
Yeah, that was one of our concerns too when we were reviewing this application. We worked closely with the applicant, not only on the height, but also on the location to get it where it would not block the existing signs on the building and the freestanding sign. So that is what we did.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember DeLucy.
Mr. Scannell, you and I chatted earlier. Could you, and here was my problem. We passed an ordinance saying we allow off-premises advertising on all these roads except Valley View Parkway. And here we are allowing an off-premises digital sign on Valley View Parkway. So can you explain to me, is this an exception or is this really not Valley View Parkway? Or what?
So the sign has frontage on I-70, not on Little Blue Parkway.
So this is really not off Valley View Parkway, it's off I-70.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, there's no address on I-70. So, I mean, you can't have an address on I-70, so we had to give it an address.
Okay, I
Is
just
what-
don't
the way I
want,
understand it. Is that correct, Mr. Scannell?
Correct, yes.
I just want to be sure that people in the audience understand we're not making an exception for the city.
Right.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. Good point. Any other comments or questions on the ordinance? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes,
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, ordinance passes. Okay, our next public hearing is the full public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 proposed budget, as required by charter. I know we did have some people sign up to speak on this, so we will call them first. When you're called on by the city clerk, if you would please unmute your microphone and just state your name for the record. And then this is a full public hearing, so we will open that up to anybody else who wishes to comment on the budget who did not sign up. So, Madam City Clerk, why don't you begin by calling those who had signed up in advance.
The first individual to sign up in advance is Sonia Stillwell.
Okay, Ms. Stillwell, are you on the call? Okay, maybe Becky, why don't we go around the horn and maybe she'll join us at the end. So why don't you call our next speaker?
Our next speaker is Juan Sebastian Banda.
Yes. Hi, I'm here. I was informed by one of the coordinators at Penn Valley that you guys are thinking about removing the bus stop from Blue River, right?
We are the budget does include removal of all of the fixed routes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just the bus route. Oh, okay. I wrote up a letter about why the bus stop at Blue River should stay, but I was not aware it was about the whole funding issue. My bad.
So, sir, would you still like to speak on the budget? I believe I received an email from you today and responded to it regarding this issue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I wrote up the letter and because at the time I thought it was just for the bus stop being removed from Blue River. I didn't know it was for like all the other bus stops, so
Okay, sir, would you like to address the council about this, or should we move on?
I guess I can read my letter to the council, even though I was for something else. Hopefully it'll probably help them think. Hopefully. You mind if I read it?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Dear Mayor and Council members, thank you for allowing me to provide some feedback on the issue of funding the bus service and independence. First off, lots of students do rely on the bus to get to and from school. While it is possible to find rides to and from school, it is not practical all the time. For example, some people will have different scheduling days and times, and catching a ride with a friend, parent will not always work out due to different class schedules, prior commitments, work, and so on and so forth. All the worries about finding a ride to school is easily solved by the bus if a student's parents, friend, guardian, for some reason aren't able to take the student to class, the student can depend on the bus for transportation. While some mishaps and mistakes can happen on the bus, it is still more reliable than phoning a ride at the last second to make it to class. My mom works early in the morning and my grandma can no longer drive, so having the bus takes me to school. Having the bus take me to school greatly helps me and the other students a lot. Another reason why having the bus stop at Blue River is that some students that ride the bus go to work and they use the bus to get to work. While I don't work myself, I know lots of students that do. And most of the time they have to work after class. And since they use the bus to get to school, it's convenient for them to take it to work. Also, some of the staff at the bookstore and the staff in the campus life and leadership office ride the bus and use it not only go to class, but to go to work too. Lastly is what Blue River offers for students. Blue River is an amazing campus to go to. The staff gives off a warm, welcoming environment, and the student body is very welcoming to other students and guests at the campus. While Blue River offers a variety of classes for students to take and learn from, it also offers something else for the student and staff there, and that's a sense and feeling of community. The environment that's been set up by Blue River greatly radiates the idea of community. It welcomes everyone with wide open arms and makes us feel safe and welcomed. This environment helps to produce productive members of society, members of the proud community that cities like Kansas City and Independence strive for. The students and staff who use the bus for transportation to and from school can get the feel and sense of community that everyone desires. The bus helps enforce the idea of community. Me and my friends who ride the bus to and from school have developed friendly relations with the bus drivers. They'll tell us to have a good day or good luck whenever they drop us off at school. And they'll ask us about our day whenever they get the chance to once they pick us up or we meet at the transit center. Having these interactions with the bus drivers helps build on the idea of community that Blue River offers. Community is a very important concept that everyone needs, whether they know it or not. It would be fair to the students who want to experience the community Blue River offers, only to not be able to because the bus doesn't go there anymore. A student who experiences community through Blue River can become a valuable member of society they are part in by giving back to the community, and that's the mission that all MCC campuses have, especially Blue River. Thank you for hearing me out on the issue and for letting me speak to you guys. Hopefully my letter will reach you guys. And yeah, I thought it was just because you were removing one bus stop, but like I said, thank you for allowing me to speak. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Becky, can you call our next speaker, please?
Yes, our next speaker is David Tran.
Hi, hello everyone. I am David Tran, a Metropolitan Community College Blue River student, and I'm the president of the Student Government Association as well. I'm here to talk on behalf of MCC Blue River students. Like one, we have a lot of students at our campus that rely on the bus service to commute to the campus. Without the bus service, many of them wouldn't be able to take class and continue education at MCC. And I understand that the City of Independence has been affected, and unfortunately, the city has to make some cuts in services. But like I said before, a lot of students at MCC rely on this bus service. So I hope you guys can work around and try to not cut these service. It's very important for MCC students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tran. Madam City Clerk, will you call our next speaker?
Next is Tom Meyer.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Weir and members of the council. As the president of the Blue River campus for Metropolitan Community College, I do know firsthand how challenging it is to make budget cuts during times like these, but I ask you to please reconsider and keep public transportation running in Independence. As you've heard from David and Juan, who have done an excellent job of making the case, public transportation is critical to access to a college education. With unemployment at record highs, Independent citizens and our students will need public transportation more than ever. Transportation is among the top 3 challenges our students face, and that prevent them from gaining a college education. And that's next to access to technology and finances. So many people think that students can just take courses online, but many of our students don't even have enough money to buy a computer to study at home. We prepare students for successful careers, and many of our classes, such as the Police and Fire Academy, require hands-on training components. So virtual education or online education simply is not a viable option. And students also take public transportation to campus to use the library, tutoring, and events. And we have the famous All for the Children event, which many people from the community come to. And again, public transportation would impact that. I want you to please know that MCC Blue River is dedicated to serving the greater Independence area as your community college. And I ask you to please keep transportation running for our students and for the citizens of Independence. It's a critical service to the infrastructure and workforce. And I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Meyer. We appreciate you coming and speaking. Madam City Clerk, do we have more speakers?
We'll try Sonia Stillwell again.
Okay. Ms. Stillwell? Okay, those are all the speakers who signed up in advance. Is there anybody else on the call who would like to speak regarding the budget? Okay, then I will close the public hearing. And this will take us to our non-ordinance action item this evening, Madam City Clerk.
Consideration of lease agreement with QP Financial LLC for a billboard at the Independence Event Center.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Item passes. This brings us to our second readings this evening. Before we get into these, Madam City Clerk, bill number 20036, which was scheduled for a second reading this evening. The city manager had asked for this to be postponed, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager? I'm on the right bill. When we get to that, we will have that consideration of a motion to postpone this until June the 1st, so we can proceed with our second readings.
Bill number 20-035, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to execute a transportation alternatives funds program agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Mill Creek Trail, project number 111817. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. So 20036, the city manager has asked for this to be postponed. I would entertain a motion to postpone until June for the 1st.
I so move.
Move to postpone.
Okay, there's
Second.
two. Okay, there's a first and a second to postpone until June 1st. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Motion passes. This takes us to our first readings. They will have their second reading for consideration by the council on June the 1st. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 20-037, an ordinance authorizing the Surface Transportation Program funding agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the US 40 Highway Complete Streets Project number 111802. Bill number 20-038, an ordinance declaring the vacant lot on Perry Road, parcel 22-500-03-07-00-000-000 as surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of said property in accordance with Chapter 20 of the City Code. Bill number 20-039, an ordinance approving a special use permit to operate a body art service at 16920 East US 24 Highway, Suite D in Independence, Missouri. Bill number 20-040, an ordinance amending section 2.10.021 of the Independent City Code to allow alcohol to be consumed on certain public property in Inglewood Business District pursuant to an agreement.
Okay, this concludes our ordinances for this evening. The information only I will draw everybody's attention to as it includes several proposed amendments to the budget, which will be discussed at our meeting on June the 1st. And this takes us to council member as well as our legislative report update. The session closed on Friday at the General Assembly. We had scheduled a update from our consulting firms for March 23rd. Obviously, that was postponed due to the coronavirus, but we will try to reschedule an end of session update from our consulting firms sometime very soon. Upcoming will also be the veto session, likely a special session, and we can expect some withholds from the budget from the governor. So we'd like to have an update on those coming forward. So this takes us to council member comments. I will begin with Councilman Van Camp.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Robertson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad that we haven't really seen a big spike as yet in Independence with cases, and I hope that we don't as we start to open businesses back up in this phase one. I am seeing a lot more businesses open and a lot more cars on the road. Some of them going to work outside Independence, of course, as well. I am a little bit concerned about our farmers market, and I know several of us have received numerous emails about that. And I wish, Mayor, that we could find a way that we could work that out even as a drive-through market or something where we could allow the people that come and sell good grocery items, especially the fresh produce and fresh fruits in our market, for folks that are on food stamps or just want the fresh fruits and vegetables. Several of the other farmers markets I see are opening now, and I don't want us to lose some of those farmers and vendors that come to the Independence market. So I would just like your consideration and maybe the health department from Independence to look at that and see how we can safely do that and still allow people to get that fresh produce. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman. I just thought maybe this would be a good time to address that. We did get some recommendations from our Parks and Recreation Department and the Health Department. We were not able to come up with a plan that was really acceptable to be able to announce that with our phase 1 reopenings. So, but I assure you those conversations are ongoing for the reasons that you stated. So Mr. City Manager, maybe you can give us a bit of an update as to the discussion regarding providing people access to the product and providing our relationships that we have with local farmers and growers. The is their product.
Yeah, certainly, Mayor. We did have those conversations prior to announcing our reopening plan. The way our market is configured, it would lend itself well to a drive-through concept with the 2 alleyways on the north and south sides of the property. Had some conversations about setting the farmers up inside the market, but again, people being able to drive through and make their acquisitions. That's similar to what's happening in Lee Summit and Overland Park with a drive-through market, other places as well. At the time, quite frankly, that idea was not accepted by representatives for the farmers. They found that to be inconvenient. And as we needed to get our reopening plan out, we went ahead and announced it as still remaining closed. That said, we do continue to have conversation with the market master. Our parks director communicated with that individual and group again today, and they're trying to identify a solution that balances the need for the members of the public who use that to get access to fresh produce, the farmers who have the supply, but also protecting public health as well. So that conversation's ongoing and trying to strike an appropriate balance there.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember DeLucy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just to continue speaking about the farmers market. I was at Drum Farm this weekend, and their farmers market, they have signs. I wore my mask. I stayed 6 feet away. It was open air. There was not a problem. Everybody was very respectful of the distance and the signage. And I was thinking, you know, if perhaps our farmers market is not large enough to spread out as much as we should, you know, maybe the city should think about closing Liberty and Osage on those Saturday mornings and spread those farmers out from the market, the open air market, and also both streets. Or an alternative, perhaps we should consider waiving any kind of hawker's fee. I know that some people are planning, some farmers are planning to go to 291 and 24 highway and setting up in an empty parking lot this coming Saturday because their produce is wasting away. They cannot wait till phase 2. And so I would perhaps suggest that it's a good idea that we would waive any kind of permit fee for a temporary kind of farmer's market if we cannot close Liberty and Osage or come up with our own solution. The second thing I would like to ask staff, I was concerned when Lisa said that the Paris transportation perhaps would be lost if she and others are not within 3/4 of a mile of a bus stop. I would like staff to check that out, because if that is correct, I think that is a very crucial piece of information we need to have when we're dealing with our bus service. And finally, I think it's a wonderful idea with the Inglewood expansion of the liquor license to allow outdoor dining. I wonder if we can't just do that citywide. I think Kansas City is doing it citywide, waiving fees for up to 90 days to get us through the summer, to get us through the COVID virus problem and not destroy our businesses. And I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if I'm dreaming, but I would at least like to look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Doherty.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. I skipped Van Camp. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I forget where you guys all sit. It's been so long. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. to go along with the same mindset that the councilwoman was having, I believe Tom Scannell was having a meeting today with the Independence Square and also with some membership of the Inglewood area to talk about just what you were describing there, Councilwoman. If Tom's on there, can he speak a little bit about what we're looking at and what some of the thoughts and ideas are?
Sure, as I get my camera to work. So this afternoon we had a meeting with representatives from the Square Association as well as the Inglewood Business District. And the meeting went very, very well, kind of talked about how a lot of the restaurant businesses, they want to open back up, but they want to do it safely. And one way to do that is to expand out into the public right of way. As you know, both of those districts, they were developed a long time ago, and they're different from a greenfield development like 39th Street, where they have a lot of ground in which they can operate their business. So the meeting went very well. They're going to get back to us some of what their plan is as far as how they would expand out into the right of way. Once we have that information, our intent is to bring back an agreement to the city council at the June 1st meeting.
Thank you, Tom. So we're taking good steps, kind of brainstorm, think out of the box to help push us through this. So go along with that same thought, also, I want to commend the council for supporting phase 2 of the 24 highway design. I think this was a big step. This work has been going on for years, working with MoDOT to try to make this happen. As you know, April 6th, we voted for phase 1. That is from 291 to 24 highway, or 291 on 24 highway to River. And this second phase will be from River to Wilson Road. So the leadership that was taken here to help enhance Western Independence, and also at the end of this work is also help small businesses with the right of way and the access and beautification. So thank you to my colleagues, and let's keep this moving, because let's stay in and keep in mind that at the end of this coronavirus, there's still work to be done and still progress to be made.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Huff.
It's kind of confused on this farmer's market. I did receive some calls on it also. I'm just really confused that we can ship produce from Mexico and all over the country, land in Hy-Vee and Price Chopper, but we don't allow someone to go to the farmer's market and sell the local produce. I understand, there's some protocol there, and I think if we made some guidelines up there and said, hey, this is the way we're going to operate, then that, they should be just entitled, instead of just picking and choosing who's open, who's not. Excuse me. It just seems, they're going to get their product out there. I mean, it's just going to make it where Councilwoman DeLucci was saying, they're going to be up there on 24 and 291 selling it. So we just figure something out over there, at least. And I understand you're trying to control the virus, and I don't have a problem with that. Number two, the only other thing I have to say is on the bus service, I hope we can really work out something, because I have been getting bombarded with a lot of people on the bus service. And, it sounds like almost we need to enhance it a little bit rather than take away. But just phone calls I'm getting. Other than that, I have nothing. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, for sure. These are some critical issues that we're facing, as we discussed at the Transportation Committee meeting last week. I thought that the Examiner wrote an excellent editorial on Saturday. If you have not had an opportunity to read that, I really recommend you do. I thought they really succinctly articulated the issue with the bus service. And we have as I said in the meeting, we have an immediate problem, and then we have a longer term problem. I'm certainly laser focused on the immediate problem, and I agree with Councilmember DeLucy and thank our speaker this evening. If I had ever known that the paratransit required you to be within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route, I didn't remember that, and I think that's a very essential piece of information. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. I certainly agree that we have an immediate problem that absolutely needs to be solved, but then I agree that we also have a larger issue about making our bus system better for everybody than what it currently is. And we have certainly one of the better ones in the region, but there's opportunity for improvement there. And I appreciate the input that I received from you all and from the citizens regarding the farmers market. I think we certainly will come up with a solution that works. It might look a little different than what we're accustomed to at our beautiful uptown market, but we certainly want to support our local vendors and support our citizens who want access to this product. So we will, I'm hoping that as soon as this week, we might have something that can serve as a temporary solution to allow for that service to continue. As with most of the things that we're dealing with, if we really had time to work through all these things, it would be great, but we don't. I mean, time is the enemy. Time and money are the enemy. And so sometimes we have to make decisions and get information out, and that means we got to hold a couple things back that just aren't quite ready yet, but we aren't taking a break until July 1st. I mean, that's for sure. We're working on it every single day, and I certainly appreciate everybody's input on those things. I did want to just express again our great gratitude to our community who has come out and shown such tremendous support to our city and to our fire service in particular at the loss of firefighter Jameson. The very unusual but necessary drive-by service last night was very successful, and his family had a private ceremony today. And by all reports, I think that went quite well as also. So it's a great loss to our community, certainly to our fire service at a time that it can hardly be worse to lose such a cherished member of our family in the city of Independence. And as usual, the outpouring of support from our citizens and from our surrounding communities has just been tremendous and a great comfort, I know, to the family and to our firefighters and our entire city. So thank you for that. We definitely have a lot of work ahead in the coming days and weeks, and appreciate all those who reach out to us and share your thoughts and your ideas. I gotta say, the Transportation Committee meeting was tremendous. Not only did we get great information, but I had not have been more touched by the public who spoke, who really came to offer solutions, and that was really phenomenal. So we got some Hail Marys in the air right now, and we'll know in the next 10 days if they've come through, and if not, we've got plan B, plan C to come up with some solutions to this immediate problem. So that's all I had this evening. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything this evening?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Did you miss Mr. Gordy?
No, he didn't have anything to say. I know it. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.